Well, Sooner Nation, Thunder Nation, we are back and super excited to have with us tonight ESPN Radio host in the Baton Rouge area, Mr. Mike Moscona. He covers, obviously, the LSU Tigers, who are soon to be fellow brethren in the SEC soon enough. And so, Matt, thank you so much for coming on with us, man.
Hey, Daryl, it's my pleasure, man. You might have a guest as well. My little boy may run in here. So if you hear background noise, he's trying to be the co-host tonight.
Bro, it's all good. I got a 10-month-old screaming downstairs, and I wouldn't be surprised it comes through in the background here in a second. So
it's
totally understand.
Understands it,
yeah. All good. Well, let's just jump straight to it. I know that you are highly connected. You are rooted in SEC country. So first of all, like, were you as shocked as the rest of us, or did you kind of know that there was at least expansion on? Like, just to kind of frame that, when I heard the article come through, I was like, here we go. It's off-season expansion talk. And then it was like done. It felt like just in a minute. So just kind of curious how you reacted to all that as it all came through.
Yes, I was on air at SEC Media Days. And oddly enough, I had Greg Sankey on my show scheduled about maybe 30 minutes after the news broke. So sometimes life works out pretty good. Now he said nothing, but still to get the commissioner on the record when something like that breaks. I was as surprised as everyone. My feeling has always been that the inevitability in college football is that college football is structured like the NFL is, where you don't have conferences. You're just going to have college football by invite only.
Right.
And the top 50 or 60 teams from around the country, whatever, there will collectively take their media rights to ESPN or Fox or wherever, just like the NFL does. And that will be worth the bajillions of dollars, and they'll all seek world domination. But that's the inevitability where we're heading. How long that takes, I don't know. And I certainly didn't have any inclination that the Texas OU thing was coming. And I'll say, like, this is something that you'll learn with respect to the SEC is it is one of those leagues where maybe a better illustration will be a contrast. Everything in-house stays in-house. And there's a unified front presented. So last year during COVID, if you notice, whenever when the Big Ten announced they weren't going to play, what happened? Nebraska was like, hell no, man, we're finding a way to play. And Ohio State's like, I don't know. And then you got parents protesting like that would never happen in the SEC, because the understood rule in this conference is say whatever you need to say behind closed doors. But once we're forward facing to the world, we are a unified front. And that's why you had a unanimous vote, even though A&M wasn't happy about it. A&M wasn't happy about it. But you had a unanimous vote, because the way the SEC is going to approach itself front facing is a unified front. So long way to answer the question. I was surprised, but at the timing that there was no inkling that it was going to happen, how quickly it was done. But when you look at it, it does make sense.
Sure. I love it. And then, so I want to follow up to that a little bit, because the perception in the Big 12 and the OU fan base is that A&M was kept completely in the dark, that they were just kind of pushed off to the side.
Everybody was. This was a deal where it was very clear that if it was Texas, and Greg Sankey made sure all of this was done in the shadows, so to speak, because he didn't want a spectacle. Look at what happened once the first story broke, and he was aiming to avoid that, which is why Drew. You might make me say hi 10,000 times, but which is why it was so important for them to have it done, and to make sure those who knew what was being discussed, that was such a short list, and those that were in the know didn't leak. I mean, that is the way things happen in the SEC.
Sure.
Told you, man. You got the star of the show back here.
Heck yeah, man. He's grabbing the
LSU.
I love it. He knows where to go. He knows where it's at. Well, hey, I know you've got him and time is short. From a football standpoint, I know we can debate all around that. I think the traditions and all that stuff work, but from a cultural standpoint, I'm curious just how you feel like the the fan bases and just the culture that comes with OU and Texas, how they will assimilate into an SEC culture where it just means more and all that good stuff.
Yeah, that's a better fit than Missouri. I think
shots fired. Yeah,
but the reality is, look, the SEC, whenever they added A&M in Missouri, they were about to launch the SEC network. They knew their linear TV network was coming. And the thing about the league is, and this is a big misconception about expansion, because a lot of people even say, why not add Florida State or Clemson? Well, you already have teams in your league in those states, and so you don't add television rights fees because you already have a presence in those states. They didn't have Texas or Missouri, and that's also a contiguous part of the league, which matters here as well. Like, they want all the states to touch. Like, you wouldn't want to add Boise State or like, as long as all the states are contiguous and they touch, that actually matters. And Missouri's north of Arkansas, so it touches.
Yeah.
But adding Oklahoma obviously adds for television purposes, adds markets you're not in. You're already in the state of Texas, but I think everybody knows what Texas's brand values.
Sure.
Sort of culturally, I think everybody looks at those two schools and says, all right, you're going to invest in facilities, great tradition. I think people would be really excited about an Oklahoma, we were supposed to see in the non-conference, but that's a conference. Is Georgia, Texas be appealing? Absolutely. Will Florida, Oklahoma be appealing? Of course it will, to all college football fans. It's why it makes so much sense.
That's cool. I love that. All right, let's get away from that a little bit. Help us as we start making our plans for where to go and what to do. What's an under the radar place, location, game? Everybody's going to want to go to LSU. Everybody's going to want to go to Bama. Right. But what's the under the radar SEC venue to go to and take a game in at?
Okay, so what are you excited about seeing, man? Let me flip it on you, because then I'll be able to answer your question. Because I've been to every venue in the league, well, except Missouri, but I've been to every venue in the league.
Man, for me, I like all the pomp and circumstance. I love the traditions that come with the weekend, the teams that really have something that's been there long lasting and that the whole fan base gets around. And then obviously eats. You got to have good eats on a trip. I'd say those two things are probably up there.
So this is the best way to say it. The best city in the SEC is Nashville. So everyone loves to go to Vanderbilt because your fan base can take over. It's a great city and you have no risk of losing the game. Athens is the best college town. So if you want to go experience what a cool college town is and a great venue, Athens, GA. I think everybody talks about a night game in Death Valley, and Baton Rouge, of course, has great food and culture. Gainesville is a dump, and I say that with respect to the fact that Florida's program has been incredible for a long time, and the Swamp, when it's loud and rocking and they're good, is a super intimidating place to play. But there's not much really in Gainesville, Ocala. Same with Arkansas. God help you if you ever have to play in Little Rock. It's absolute dump. South Carolina is sneaky underrated. You have the capital city, a great venue, friendly fans, and a good town there in Columbia. Neyland, I think y'all played a non-conference series with Tennessee here recently. But Neyland is a really cool place as well. There's not many bad ones. Jordan-Hare at Auburn is probably the loudest venue I've been in outside of Baton Rouge. So there's great spots all over the SEC, man. I didn't even mention the Grove. The Grove and now Starkville's a dump. I mean, I hate to say I know I have friends that are Mississippi State people and they love their tradition and all, but there's not a whole lot to do in Starkville, candidly. But that's another one where you'll probably go in and get your W. But State also is another one of those like sneaky underrated venues where they pipe in noise. The cowbells are loud. Like their 55,000 people make more noise than some 80,000 seat stadium. So it's a sneaky underrated venue there. Yeah.
I love that. And then lastly, and we'll get you out of here. Kind of what is your prediction, I guess, for how on the field progress or on the field success will look for Oklahoma and for Texas as they come into a league that will be much deeper and much difficult when they finally join?
Well, when are they going to join? That's the fascinating thing. Like, can the Big 12 survive another year? I'm super skeptical. And if they can't, and I think that's the eye all along, is to get Texas and OU in the league sooner than later. And if it's 2023, I am fascinated to see if Steve Sarkisian can turn that Texas program into a contender again, because realistically, if Texas walks into the SEC right now, they're just a middle of the pack team. I mean, they're a 500 team in the league. They'll beat the bottom feeders, and they'll lose to the top tier, and you just get lost in the shuffle, and you're perennially and perpetually in this 7-5, 8-4 mode. I think OU's history and certainly their recent success would lend them to have better results initially. But I think it's also very fair to point out OU struggles in the college football playoff. I mean, what LSU did to them, LSU did that to everybody that year. So that's that's an outlier. But OU played a hell of a game in the Rose Bowl against Georgia, and I think the expectation of a playoff berth every year when you're in a league that already has Alabama, it has to mute your expectation, because until Nick is on, and Darryl, I've said for Nick Saban, he's made a deal with the devil. Nick is in the year 2435, when Nick Saban has won his 300th national championship, midfield at Bryant-Dennehy Stadium is going to open up, and it's going to suck Nick Saban into the depths of hell, where he'll spend all of eternity. But he's going to win 300 national championships on the way. So, but until Nick is out, you always have that gigantic hurdle to clear. So I think it would be unrealistic to think you come right in and then you're just a perennial playoff team again. Right. Until you can solve Alabama, you can't realistically get there.
Sure. Absolutely. Well, man, Matt, thank you for coming on, just hitting us up with a few little thoughts as we come to the SEC. I know Sooner Nation's super excited. And again, guys, if you want to know more about the SEC, the culture, just who you're going up against week to week, Matt is very plugged in. Matt, tell them where they can find you just real quickly.
Hey, man, if you can spell my name, you can find me anywhere. I'm on, if it's Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, I'm on all of them. And I do a daily radio show from 3 to 6. It's syndicated all over Louisiana. But if you want to listen online, it's at 1045espn.com, or you can watch it on our station YouTube channel as well.
And guys, you would love it. Again, obviously in Baton Rouge, lots of LSU ties, but he does a great job with college football as a whole, and definitely with SEC. And so definitely go check his stuff out. He does a fantastic job. Matt, thank you so much for coming on with us, man. We appreciate it.
My pleasure, Dale. Thanks for having me.